And so you need to find ways to abandon your fear of good occurring, to abandon your fear of God appearing in you and in your experience. It is apparent, it really is apparent, that reality cannot threaten anything except illusions, since reality can only uphold truth. Now that's obvious, but you'll scuttle this little bit of information back under the carpet, because it's much easier to believe that truth will uncover the awfulness in you, or that the experience of truth, as I said before, will require of you that you be too conscious, and it will be too much work, when the fact is that you will rest in the infinite conscious experience of being. It will not be work. The very fact that the will of God, which is what you are, is perceived as fearful to you, demonstrates that you are afraid of what you are. It is not then the will of God of which you are afraid, but yours. Your will is not the ego's, and that is why the ego is against you. You know, you go around exercising your will and you think your will is your private capacity to exert force and make things happen. And that is what you think gives you your individuality and creates a place of realness in the world of you. And so it seems like a great sacrifice to have to let go of that. But that is not your will. Your will is the will of God that God embodied right where you are. And that will is a singular will. It's undivided. It isn't him and me, God and me. It's us. And it's so us that it's indivisible. And it doesn't constitute a conscious experience separate from the Father's. So, what seems to be the fear of God is really only the fear of your own reality. Now, it doesn't make sense, does it, to fear your own reality? You didn't set out to fear your own reality. But as I said, the moment you said, I want a divorce, I want to look at things my way for a while, you imagined a new reality. And in abandoning the old one, which was real, and which couldn't be altered by your abandoning it, you nevertheless created for yourself a so-called independent experience. And you grew to love it. You grew to love the thrill, the excitement of overcoming everything you found yourself afraid of, which was all the rest of the kingdom of heaven. And so, because you began to take so much value from the experience of independence, you saw anything else, which would have to be all the rest of what you divinely are, you began to see everything else as that which would undermine and deprive you of that which was of ultimate value to you, your assertion of your independent self. So you didn't do it on purpose. You did it because in the act, the imagined act of independence, you forgot who you were. And in forgetting who you were, all of yourself that you weren't embracing became that which was your enemy. Why? Because the rest of you is always insisting on reincorporating the little independent sense of yourself that you're holding apart from the rest back into the rest. So, the Holy Spirit, that which is nothing more than your right mind, that which is the rest of you, because it cannot help but engage in reintegration of its wholeness, is experienced by you as a threat, as a danger, as that which is intent upon upsetting the status quo and disturbing whatever sense of peace you've managed to achieve in the middle of a conflicted world, a polarized world, which you believe you have the capacity to whip into shape, to temper, to train into better forms of obedience. Something else obvious here. It is impossible to learn anything consistently in a state of panic. If the purpose of this course is to help you learn what you are, and if you have already decided that what you are, truly, is fearful, then it must follow that you will not learn this course. It's so obvious. Yet, you might remember that the reason for the course is that you do not know who you are. You do not know who you are. That's the reason for the course, to remind you. If you do not know your reality, how would you know whether it is fearful or not? The association of truth and fear, which would be highly artificial at most, is particularly inappropriate in the minds of those who do not know what truth is. If you don't know what the truth is, on what basis would you justify being afraid? All that this kind of association means is that you are arbitrarily endowing something quite beyond your awareness with something you do not want. It is obvious then that you are judging something of which you are totally unaware. You see, when you become so preoccupied with what you think you are, and when you are so certain about what you believe you are, and when you have such confidence, it doesn't matter what else might enter the picture, you cannot allow it. And even though you don't know what it might be, you still can't allow it. But something, the course, someone, me, and your guides, and the Holy Spirit in each one of you has come and is telling you what is beyond what you're conscious of. so that you're not ignorant and you're not making a decision against it ignorantly any longer. You may still choose to ignore it, to distance yourself from it, but you won't be doing it in total ignorance. On the other hand, because you are not totally ignorant, that the truth about you, the conscious experience of who and what you really are, is available to you, and because it is truth, all that it will illuminate in you is the truth of what you are, can give you the courage to explore, to allow for that which you had steadfastly disallowed for, because it wouldn't have mattered what it was to you that was outside of your experience. You couldn't let it in. Now that I'm telling you that truth will illuminate the truth about you and free you from the illusions about you that you've been bound by, you do have a justification for letting in a fuller experience, for saying to the Father, Father, thy will be done. Share with me what it is. Or to say to the Holy Spirit, help. I invite you in. I make room for you. And I make room for you by giving my attention to you instead of my best interpretations, my best definitions, and the strange love I have for ruminating about nonsensical, fragmented arrangements of things at the expense of gaining my access to the truth that it's my birthright to be experiencing. So again, it is evident then that you are judging something of which you are totally unaware. You have set this strange situation up so that it is completely impossible to escape from it without a guide who does know what your reality is. The purpose of this guide is merely to remind you of what you want. He is not attempting to force an alien will upon you. Now, this is very important. Your fundamental guide is the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is not attempting to force an alien will upon you, but to uncover that it already is and always has been your will, which you have been denying and blinding yourself to the experience of by choosing to attempt to be a private autonomous presence with an ability to have force in your world all by yourself. It's your right mind that is insisting upon rejoining with you, not an alien will. It's you. He, your guide, is merely making every possible effort within the limits you impose on him to reestablish your own will, your real will in your consciousness. And yet, it cannot be forced upon you, not even by that which is nothing more than your right mind. This little rebellious speck of the infinitude of what you are must rejoin the whole voluntarily by abandoning whatever means it is using to convince itself that it actually can be separate. Continuing, you have imprisoned your will in your unconscious, where it remains available but cannot help you. When we said that the Holy Spirit's function is to sort out the true from the false in your unconscious, we meant that He has the power to look into what you have hidden and perceive the will of God there. His perception of this will can make it real to you because He is in your mind, and therefore He is what? Your reality. He is nothing more than your right mind. If then His perception of your mind brings its reality to you, He is teaching you what you are. That which is whole has no choice but to be whole, because its wholeness was set in place by the Father, by the Father's will. Therefore, that of you which has been held in trust while you dally with an ego sense of yourself, which is nothing more than your right mind, is constantly insisting on being whole because it is singular. And so, it's constantly inviting you, not coercing you, not forcing you, but inviting you to let it back in. Constantly inviting you to abandon your insistence upon being tiny. That means that you're already surrounded by help. You already stand supported on behalf of your wholeness, on behalf of your conscious experience of your perfection. Everything that is going on is geared toward the miracle, the sudden shift of perception. You are not alone. You have never been abandoned. You are never out of reach. Because you carry with you at all times that which is nothing more than your right mind. The whole of you accompanies you everywhere you go. But you must arrive at a point where the truth is more important to you than your problem, or the truth is more important to you than your current belief system, where the truth is more important to you because you've heard that it will, if you let it in, illuminate the truth about you and relieve you, release you from the ignorances that you have been bound by inappropriately and unnecessarily. You are all so constantly accompanied by that which will make you whole and that which is intent upon uncovering your wholeness to you And you know what? This stranger that is accompanying you is nothing more, no one more than yourself in your totality. As I was saying earlier, the only source of fear in this whole process can only be what you think you lose. Yeah, pretty awful to have to lose sin, sickness, and death. I agree. That's quite a cost. And misery and confusion that accompanies it. Oh my. The only source of fear in this whole process can only be what you think you lose. Yet it is only what the Holy Spirit sees that you can possibly have. We have emphasized many times that the Holy Spirit will never call upon you to sacrifice anything. You see, isn't it wonderful here? In this marvelous experience of independence and the thrill and the excitement of overcoming the odds, you don't realize that you have already sacrificed your peace and the conscious experience of your wholeness. Your capacity to be anywhere in infinity in an instant, which you call teleportation. Your capacity to experience the whole of infinity in the singularity of one conscious experience, and yet at the same time to experience the infinite specificity, the infinite minutiae of details of creation. To have simultaneously the experience, the conscious experience of being universal as well as specific. You sacrificed a lot, but since no one has come along and said to you that the rest of what you are, the rest of infinity, is present and available to you right now, because right now you're more than you thought you were, you've just plodded along in your ignorance. But now, someone is telling you that you already are the ultimate, that you don't have to plod ahead any further. You simply have to, let's say, abandon the trek, pause a moment, choose for your peace, and desire to know the truth, irrespective of the problems that are going on, which your ego would just love to get a better understanding of so that it can manipulate everything into better order without ever allowing you to remember who you are and no longer experience the sacrifice of the truth about you, together with the bliss and the peace and the joy and the love, together with your capacity to look at each other and recognize ultimate value there, so that in the recognition of it, the making of the gift of the recognition of it, you make it your own. We have emphasized many times that the Holy Spirit will never call upon you to sacrifice anything, but if you ask the sacrifice of reality of yourself, the Holy Spirit must remind you that this is not God's will, because it is not yours. Wow. The Holy Spirit confronts you not with the fact that you're trying to be a bad boy or a bad girl, but confronts you with the fact that because it's not God's will, it's not yours either. Leaving you in your integrity, inspiring your integrity to come forth rather than become buried further. There is no difference between your will and God's. Now, I am not talking about what you would call your human will. I am not talking about any capacity you think you privately, personally have to be forceful, manipulative, and successfully controlling of circumstances and people. There is no difference between what your will truly is and God's. If you did not have split minds, you would recognize that willing is salvation because it is communication. What is it your will to do or be? Well, don't try to figure out the answer to that question, because any answer you figure out will be wrong. Your will is to fulfill your function. That's the only thing your will can be. Oh, I know. Well, that doesn't tell me a hell of a lot, does it? The expression of my true will is to embody my function. Thanks a lot. Anybody mind telling me what my function is? With a little bit of sarcasm and righteous indignation. I'll be happy to tell you what your will is. Your will is to recognize God in each and everything. Your function is, I'm going to put it to you gently, is to be like God. And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was verily God himself. God does nothing less than recognize himself in the movement of being. Now, what makes you think you might have a function different from that? Your function is to see what's true. Your function is to see what's real. Your function is to extend it and make it your own so that you feel the singularity of being with no fragmentation associated with it, and therefore no confusion associated with it. And therefore with utter peace and a capacity to be joyful, not just happy, 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 a capacity to be joyful. Which is no small thing. Because that which is singular, when it is joyful, is, for lack of better words, a joy which resounds through infinity without ever losing any aspect of the substantiality of itself.